if you stretch that into 2 meals, that's nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I mean, like even if that's twice a week, especially now, everything's gone up.
for
Trying to
sure.
figure out something to grab to eat real quick. Might be fine. I'm not that hungry. I ate kind of a light lunch and I ate a good bit of that because I got on my flat top today, cooked
Flat
it up.
top.
Yeah, my flat top griddle.
Oh, one of those things. You're one of those people.
Hey, it makes it easy to cook certain things because like I don't even have a gas one, it's an electric one. So I don't have to buy any gas, I don't do anything. I just go out there, throw it on. It's easy
Yeah.
to clean. Like it saves me from having to use a bunch of dishes. The only dish I used today was I boiled the rice before I threw it on the grill because it's a boiling bag rice.
Hmm.
But so I did that for a few minutes and then threw it on the grill. But yeah, I mean, it's easy because you just like you throw the chicken on there, you scrape it off, and then you throw the rice and the egg on there. Of course, I put some onion in there myself. It's a little different, but it's I don't have like the vegetables
Do
that
you
typically go in fried rice, so I just
do you do the little onion volcano like they do with the
dude for real. I would
steakhouse?
love to like go take a class on that. That would be awesome. Do because see, I love hibachi style stuff. I could eat that all the time. So like, I would love to learn how to do it. Because see, if I've got that kind of grill, if I get like a bigger one
Hmm.
someday, then I could just do it all and just be like, I mean, that one was probably it was less than $200 for that one. So I mean, like,
Hmm.
it wasn't expensive at all. I didn't get a real nice one because I didn't need one. I didn't need a big one.
Just as people come in the door, you're just like hitting them with like half pieces of shrimp, like catch.
So if you have to cook shrimp on there, I don't know why, but
You have yet to put another shrimp on the Barbie. I'm not even gonna try with a bad Aussie accent. It's just
let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
just
Let's not.
let's not and say we did. How about that?
No, that's from Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, I know.
Let's not. He's like,
I knew exactly where you were going with it.
that's why I did it badly on purpose. I mean, because he
Yeah,
does
yeah.
badly.
I tell
Oh,
you
that's
what
pretty
else
good.
I would like though.
Goddamn, good day, mate.
You're talking about taking a class on the hibachi thing. I would love to hear like like news segments delivered by the guys who do the hibachi thing. Because if you go to the right Japanese steakhouse, those guys are flipping hilarious.
Yeah.
And you just get one of those guys just like riffing on whatever random local news is going on. I like that kind of thing.
Did you ever watch
I'd be down for it.
How I Met Your Mother?
Yeah.
So, um, when Barney bet he could do the shrimp in the pocket, did you see that one?
I mean, I saw them all. I don't
It
remember
was the
it
one
per se.
where he bet he could do it, and then Lily had to show him her chest. It was like so they were like he was like both boobs, one squeeze or whatever, and he's like she's like one boob, no squeeze, like
Wow.
just look.
I, I don't think I remember that particular episode. But what?
It was just funny because he was saying that he knew how to do something like he could do it all, the shrimp in the pocket, the onion volcano, like everything.
Spinning the egg on the spatula.
Yeah. And so
Okay. All right. All right.
so he was saying he could do all that. They're like, no, you can't. And so it,
Nice.
it was really funny, but I gotta get my
Guess
steak
you had to
here.
be there.
Let's see what we got here. Did you see anyone jump on our stream last week?
No, but I wasn't paying attention to it. So if anybody's on the stream, leave a comment, say hey. If not, you're dead to us.
Uh, uh,
Hmm.
let's see here. Man, in my other fantasy league, I was this close to making the playoffs. I came from the bottom,
I
and
came from the bottom and made the playoffs, baby.
here's the thing, though. Guess
I
what?
can't
If I'd
believe
done
that.
one thing, I
What's
had
that?
Schrader benched
What? Why?
because it, because I didn't pay
Playing
attention.
Tennessee.
It was
That's
a
it.
bad week for me, and I just wasn't thinking about fantasy. It was not on the forefront of my mind. And
Yeah,
then
I
after it
get that.
started, I was like, "You got to be kidding me! How did he see on my bench?" I still have him on my injured reserve list because I had him on there to add another player when he was injured.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And yeah, that didn't work out. But he scored like 41 points, and so did Martin Harrison. He scored 40 something points. So like Schrader would have basically canceled him out, and then I would have won based on the rest of my players
Hmm.
because I only lost by like 4 points. I was like, you got to the guy who's the commissioner and number one in the league.
Yeah.
But
Were
the funny
you
thing is, had I beat him, I would have had to turn around and beat him twice in a row because
get that rematch?
yeah. Now I'm in the basketball league, and that was just crazy.
Yeah. Um, were you by any chance keeping an eye on the chat Saturday night or Saturday afternoon? Or no, it was Saturday night during the Florida LSU game.
Mm-mm.
The way it was set up, the second highest scorer in the league, Josh Dodd. Um, if he went, I needed in order to go, I needed um, both of the guys ranked ahead of me with my same record to lose, and I needed both. I needed everybody in front of me to lose because I had JB outflanked in points, and I needed to win. And three of them had lost basically, and one guy died. Um, he would have gotten the tiebreaker on me if he had won, and he was gone. Like he was dead to rights. But he had was it Neighbors? No, not Malik Neighbors. One of LSU's other receivers, the LSU receiver who scored the last two touchdowns, and he came back and took the lead against the commish Jesse, and Jesse only had one guy active, and that was Graham Mertz. And the passing
Oh,
yards on the final drive was enough to get him just barely above in the ranking. And it was a whole thing. You should go back and follow that thread. That was a lot of fun. As sick as
that's
I
crazy.
was, like that's the one thing I remember from the weekend.
Hmm. Yeah, well, there was in that other league, there was like five people tied for fourth place in a
Mm-hmm.
sense because I mean they weren't tied because of point differential, but I mean as far as like in record. And so I had it though, like as long as the person in front of me lost, like ahead of me in points,
Mm-hmm.
and I won, I was golden because there's no way the guy behind me was catching me. but uh, at least not when I started the scoring. And and then I was winning big time, but all his players played like late at night, and so he came back between Ohio State and all the other teams that he had later on. He came back and beat me like 4 points. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Mhm. Well, I'm playing my part in this year's postseason is TCU. I got no business being in the top four. I don't know how I made it, but I'm here, and you know what? I'm just enjoying the ride.
Crazy.
And the way the platform did it was instead of the top two from each division, it took to the top four overall, which I'm
From our
our
league?
division, yeah, from our league, and our division was a crapshoot. Like it was just a bunch of people with barely of 500 records, and the other division was stacked. And so the commission actually was third in the other division. So he had a better record than I did. So he got put into the playoffs, and then he took himself out and put me in. So of course I made a meme like,
He took himself out.
yeah, because the way the platform did it was it took the top guy from our division and then the top three from the other division, and he was the number three guy in his division, and he intended it to be the top two from each division.
See,
Yeah,
in the other one and in the basketball one, we don't have divisions because there's only 10
yeah,
teams.
we've got 14
Yeah, I know. That's
in
what I'm
our league.
saying. Is it's I I don't know if I could have done it or not, but I was like, I'm not going to because so the other football league, I didn't set it up, but the basketball league, I'm
Mm-hmm.
the commissioner. I don't know if I could have or not, but I wasn't going to do it because with only 10, there's no point in doing divisions.
Right.
If you went over that, like if you went 12 or 14, then maybe, but I figured it was too few, so I just didn't do it. But I kind of wanted to just to make it more interesting. So wait, he went back and just used his commissioner powers to make you to change the
Yeah.
settings.
Yeah, he backed himself out and put himself in because that's the way he intended to do it. But the whole platform's been kind of glitchy the whole time.
Yeah, I'm
The
having issues with the
defense wasn't working.
basketball one because like you play multiple games a week in basketball, and right now I have it set for change your lineups twice a week,
Hmm.
and uh people were asking, they were so confused, like, can we change it to every day it's open? And so I did that, and then it changed the scores, and I was like, oh crap. So I changed it right back because one of
Hmm.
my friend who's the commissioner of the other football league, he was like, wait a minute, you did mess. I lost like 100 points when he did that. I was like, okay, I'll right back. And then I was like, okay, what do y'all want to do? Do y'all want to change it? I can change it after this week's over. But then this morning, I tried to change it, and it said after 6 days after you start the scoring or the league, um, you can't change the setting. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So said you can
Man,
contact us if you have any questions about it or whatever. And I'm just like, I'm not going to that trouble. The role's staying what it is. We'll just deal with it.
yeah.
I thought it made the most sense. I'm trying to figure it out because scoring's different for basketball, but it is what it is. So it'll be fine. Next year, I may just do it differently, but I wasn't willing to screw anybody over to do it.
Yeah. Well, I told the commission, I was like, look, there's no reason in the world I of all teams should be in the playoffs. And he insisted because he intended it to be the top two from each division. So when I saw that I was in there, I put in the chat the Steve Buscemi meme. How do you do, fellow playoff teams?
You got your hatter yet?
Unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You don't sound too happy about it.
No, I'm not. I almost hit my hatter last week. Doggone Arizona only won by a field goal.
Uh,
Has anybody hit a hatter yet this year?
I don't know, to be
And
honest.
JB and I both would have picked Army over Air Force, but we actually didn't. Will you text JB again? Let him know we're about to record. I know Mondays are busy, crazy busy for him,
Uh,
but
um, JB, didn't he pick Army over Air Force?
we didn't pick that week. We didn't record that week.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah,
Yeah, the week we picked the previous episode that we recorded, I picked Navy over Air Force
that's right.
because I figured Air Force had a loss in them to one of the service academies, and they did not lose to Navy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have recorded last night, but Friday, man, Friday afternoon, I started going downhill like real quick, and when I woke up Saturday, I was dead. Like I barely got any sleep Friday night anyway. I mean, we're recording on YouTube, so I'm gonna not be as detailed, but I had a flu or COVID or something, but I was up all night every hour or so. I barely got more than an hour of sleep at once, and I finally got what 2 3 hours of sleep and woke up right before game day was over. And the original plan was to meet up with some family and watch the Alabama game. You know, have a little brunch, kick off at 11, and I'm like waking up, barely moving at 10:45, and I didn't go, and well, I mean, neither did my wife. We just kicked back at the house and watched the game, which was fun. I enjoyed that, except that I had like 101 fever all day Saturday, and then it went away yesterday at some point. So I'm in that phase. You know how when you get sick and you're down for a bit, like you feel better, but it's like you can tell there's not as much gas in the tank.
Yeah.
That's where I've been at today. It's like I could do stuff, but if I'm not careful, I'm gonna overdo it and I'm gonna relapse. So it's like I keep telling myself, all right, we're just gonna chill. Like I walk the dog, and instead of walking with her up and down the block, I'm like, I'll just sit on the bench. I'll just sit and rock for a little bit. I just gotta pace myself. I'm outside. That's that's enough.
Yeah. Man, that's last week was just miserable for me. Work just they're trying to pinch every last nerve I have in my body,
Really.
like push every nerve, yeah. And I'm getting towards a breaking point of just like I mean, there's been times where I've been tempted just to walk out and go home,
Mm,
or just completely explode on managers and stuff because it's the way they treat me in there. But yeah, so that's been rough. But of course, and then I always have to like I try not to bring that home, but when you come with you can turn some of the stuff off when you come home. Like you can kind of compartmentalize the
mhm.
actual stuff that happened, but the stress carries with you.
Yeah.
So I can not necessarily focus on everything that happened. I can kind of let the specifics go, but the stress doesn't just go away. So one night last week, it really carried with me. Like my appetite was gone for a while. I couldn't breathe much. So it was rough, but um, you know, it is what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
I made it through. The Lord pushed me through. So
Well, that's good.
But honestly, like at this point, if I get that call this week, I'm probably gonna be like, screw the 2 week notice and just be like, I'm working out the rest of this week and then I'm done. Because in Georgia, you don't
Yeah.
technically have to give a 2 week notice, like
Oh
by
no,
law.
it's just like Alabama. It's a
It's a right to
right to
work.
work. Yeah.
Yeah. I know technically you should, and normally I probably would, but they don't deserve my 2 week notice.
I would still say, unless it's like a legit abusive environment or like there's illegal stuff going on, do the 2 week notice. It's just it's better that way. And if they say you don't need to work it out, okay, then go. But um, I don't know. It's just I've always seen it more as a reflection of the individual rather than of the work environment. Now that said, like my first job ever, I showed up at the beginning of my shift or a little bit before the beginning of my shift one day and handed in my shirt and my name tag. And I was like, bye, I quit. But I was 16. Don't recommend that. I really don't. Um, but especially as an adult, it's like, I mean, you've put up with it this long. 2 more weeks won't kill you. And
Well, and of course, part of the reason I'm thinking about it right now is because uh, it would allow me to spend Thanksgiving with my family instead of alone. So,
well, I mean, give them a 1 week notice, right? To tell them, but how far do you have to go for Thanksgiving?
oh, I mean, as far as driving,
Yeah.
about 3 hours.
Okay.
But I
So
mean, to drive up the night before just to spend Thanksgiving and then drive back Thanksgiving night would be just,
yeah, well, I mean, you could tell them, look, you got me through the day before Thanksgiving. I can't work anymore. I mean, that's something. That's better than nothing. And I think that's one of those circumstances that would be a legitimate reason to give a shortened uh, notice. I mean, it's actually it's funny you mentioned that. The reason why I left the way I did my first job was I requested time off to take a vacation to go to the beach, and like the week before, they told me you don't have that time off anymore. And there's nothing I could do to get around it. And I had already paid for it was a youth trip, one of those youth beach trips. And it was it was a grocery store a few blocks away from the church. So on the way to the church to go to the beach, I swung by work and just handed my stuff. I was like, fine, bye. And so if there's an issue with time off, especially if that played into the decision to leave, then I don't know that it would necessarily be bad to say, look, I'll give the notice, all the notice I can, but I'm not going to be able to come in anymore after Thanksgiving, and just go with that.
yeah, I'll just figure it out. First, I got to get the call. So,
Yeah, I mean, step one is secure the other job.
but
Don't leave one job till you got another one to go to.
I'll tell you this though, whatever I work out, if I get the call this week, I'm not showing up to work Saturday. I could work in the next week if need be, but I'm not gonna work Saturday if I because my buddies already said if you get it um he's like celebrate at my bar, meaning at his house. So I'll go watch the Georgia beat up on Tennessee at his house.
That'd be fun.
But at the same time, like I'm low on our point system, so uh or like I'm good on it. So like even if I don't go to work Saturday, I'll be fine. But um anyway. All right. Well, I got mine too. I texted JB, but he hadn't responded, so Maybe by the time we make picks, I'll have his to us.
Yeah, no, and I think it's. I think did JB get fired and then just nobody told us? It's like what's happening?
I don't know what's been going on with him lately. He hadn't said much.
Yeah, and I do know he has been busy, so I
Yeah.
hadn't pushed it. Oh snap! There's a new SEC roll call. This may be an unpopular opinion, but the roll call, in my view, is better than SEC shorts. But I'll say in defense of SEC shorts, what they do with the captions sometimes when they put in little jokes in the captions, like the depth of it is nothing short of spectacular. But just on a weekly baseline quality basis, I think Matt Mitchell is a cut above.
Really?
Yeah, I think. I mean, so SEC shorts, it's like when they're good, they're great, but every now and again, it drops. So they're less consistent, but they're better when they're good. But the roll
I
call
just
is
I
always
just love that
fantastic.
they at the end they started putting in the Big Ten guy in an SEC shorts video. Herbie.
Yep, yep, I love that. That is a lot of fun.
I wonder if he's connected with Herb Street, if he's connected with Renaissance Bank. I wonder if that's why he does it.
Uh, it could be.
Like if he has
Uh,
association with him.
you know, Renaissance is actually headquartered here in Birmingham.
Is it?
Yeah, they were one of the banks I interviewed with before I left uh, my career at Wells Fargo. Before I took and rolled off the stagecoach. Yeah, it was probably one of those jobs where I would have been little fish in a big pond kind of thing. It might have been a job that was a little bit above my level of expertise, but uh, I killed it in the interview, and I think I would have gotten the offer if the department goals hadn't shifted.
You
I
never
mean,
worked for Walk Over You?
I did actually. Yeah,
You
we
did?
were bought out by the stagecoach ran over us.
Oh,
Yeah, I started with Wachovia back in '07, and I was there. Uh, interestingly enough, I love telling the story. I was using their tuition reimbursement program to finish my business degree at the time, and in 2008, I was taking a night class that met Sunday nights for like 3 hours
hmm.
on business law, and we had started the section on contract law, and we started it one Sunday and finished it the other Sunday, and in between we got the notice that at work that Wachovia was getting bought by Citi. Nope, it's actually getting bought by Wells Fargo because somebody with Citi messed up the initial contract. So my company became our case study in that class. That was a lot of fun. It was a good class. It was enjoyable. It was, I mean,
I
it
think I
is
remember. When did Wells Fargo buy Walk Over You?
it was '08. It was like September '08.
Okay. Because Wachovia bought the local branch of or the like the small company where my parents at the time were banking. Wachovia bought them out,
Who was it?
and then I don't remember.
What, South Trust?
Yes, that's what it was.
Okay. Yeah, we had
Yeah,
South Trust around here too.
yeah. They were with South Trust, and they Wachovia bought them, and then I think not too long after that they switched to another bank, and it for a while it was Northwest Georgia Bank, and then they got bought out by First Bank.
Northwest Georgia Bank.
Yeah, it's just a local.
Like we had two of them in the area, but it was just um, local to Ringgold
Yeah.
or the county. And then First Bank bought them out, which is a smaller bank, but probably a little bit bigger than that
Yeah.
local bank because there's some First Banks around.
Yeah. I wound up going with a smaller bank. It's not a Birmingham based bank, unfortunately. That's one of the reasons why I was looking hard at Renaissance, but it's a smaller bank and it's so much better. I would highly recommend it. If there's anybody who is in the financial world working for one of the big companies like the top fives, your JP
You didn't want to
Morgan, your
work for
Citi.
Truist?
I, Truist isn't that big.
I was just
Yeah.
joking because I don't know how big they actually are. I know that uh, they either bought or merged with SunTrust because that used to be what the Brave Stadium was named, and then it switched to Truist.
I'm just waiting for their marketing campaign with like a hip hop star. It's like bank with the realest, the truest.
They gotta, I mean, they must be like, a decent size because if they were able to buy SunTrust.
Yeah, I mean, well, also a lot of those deals are done on credit, right? There's a lot of lending
Yeah.
that goes in it, so it's not necessarily cash on hand. We're gonna make it rain, and now you
Well,
roll
and I
into
want
us
to say
now.
too that was not a full buyout. Part of it, I think, was a merger, is what I read, but I could be
Mm.
wrong. Um,
Um,
because that,
well, and they're advertised different ways too. Like Wells Fargo legit bought Wachovia and took over,
yeah,
but when Regions and AmSouth merged, I don't know if you have or if you had AmSouth around you, but you probably have Regions.
we do have
Uh,
regions. Yeah,
yeah,
I don't know about AmSouth.
AmSouth was a regional bank that actually bought Regions and kept the name because
Yeah,
Regions had a better reputation
yeah.
than AmSouth at the time. So you'll have that happen too. And actually, Wachovia uh, was bought by First Union back in like 99, 01, and First Union kept the Wachovia name because of its reputation.
Mm.
So I mean that happens all the time too. So
Well, I
yeah.
mean, you got Sprint and T-Mobile,
Mm-hmm.
which I still can't believe that T-Mobile was able to buy Sprint because uh, you had for the longest time you had Verizon and AT&T right here, like Verizon probably just above AT&T. Then you drop down a significant amount. You had Sprint, and then you drop down a lot more and you had T-Mobile. So it's like, but T-Mobile kept slowly buying up towers, and I think
Mm-hmm.
they must have gotten their capital up enough to because Sprint started going downhill.
Yep.
So I guess they just capitalized at the right time.
Sprint, I think early on put too many eggs in the Nextel basket.
Who did?
With Sprint, because Sprint
Oh,
bought out Nextel back like 15 years ago or something like that.
oh yeah. Well,
And when everybody was like the chirp chirp, I got a walkie talkie phone. Like, okay,
I got a walkie-talkie watch. So what?
can you imagine though, if like on social media, like on Twitter, if you could have like a walkie talkie conversation? So it was legit audio, but it wasn't having to type it all out. It was people actually
Ugh,
engaging in audio.
that's
but
hilarious.
but in between all of them, you always had the chirp chirp.
Rex now it's re-exit. Um,
Yeah, re-exit.
yeah, X, so Twitter.
If you ask me if I'm going to exit, then I'm going to leave.
um,
That's how I feel about that.
I wasn't trying to make a corny joke. I was just saying,
Oh, I
like,
was.
because, oh man, yeah. But do you have do you have an Apple Watch?
Mm-hmm.
So have you ever used the walkie-talkie on it?
I tried to, but it didn't work, so I'd stop.
Really? I've
Yep,
never had
I
an
don't.
issue with it.
Well, I'm an old fuddy duddy. That's why I got the flip phone.
What's really cool about it though is that like anywhere anyone has Wi-Fi or cell reception, you can just walkie-talkie them real quick and be like and say something you need to say. So if you don't want to call somebody and get in a phone conversation, you just be like, "Hey, remember you need to do this," or "Hey, what are you up to? Like, you want to go to, you know what I mean? It's some like
Hmm.
a text, but you need to say it verbally.
Yeah.
You can do that real quick and not have to like actually make a phone call. And
It,
so it's kind of nice.
See, I still have them. I had a Bluetooth headset that was bone conduction with a little
Hmm.
button, so I could just push it and be like, "Hey Siri, send a text," or "Hey Siri." Oh shoot, my.
Yeah, I knew that was gonna happen. No, but see the whole bone conduction thing, we have I don't have it anymore because I swapped out at work. We now I have the one since I started driving the forklift, I have one that goes in the ear,
Mhm.
but or like over the ear. I don't ever wear it though. But the one before was bone conduction. It would sit right off your ears, but
Yeah.
it was so weird because you could like I couldn't understand what people were saying half the time. It was like a I could feel the vibration, I could hear, but I
Hmm.
couldn't make out what people were saying half the time. And it was weird. It felt weird. I was just like, this just is like it's cool
So
technology, but
your bone conduction was doing that.
yeah.
If you're working with noise, I found this out because I do this when I cut the grass because I can hear the lawnmower so much better than I can hear what's going on in the headset. If you get some noise canceling earbuds and just pop them in, don't plug them into anything. Like I've got a set that's just a pair that I just clipped off most of it, so it's just enough to dangle from ear to ear, and I'll plug it in, and what that does is it blocks the noise out and it magnifies the
Yeah, but if
sound
you're
coming
gonna
in.
put like stuff in your ear,
I
why don't
know,
you just use
I
AirPods?
know, but because I use the headset, well, I don't do the AirPods because I'm always afraid they're gonna fall out. Like that, I can't do it. I can't
I've
do.
never had a problem with that. The only time an AirPod has ever fallen out of my ear is if like as if I like push my ear and then like if I'm like pushing like
Mhm.
this and it like just eventually it'll work its way out.
Yeah, no, I get it, and I don't know anybody that it's even happened to, but it's that same kind of fear in the back of my mind, like when I'm driving over a bridge, that this bridge is going to collapse out from under me. Like I know it's not going to happen. It's never happened. It hadn't happened to anybody that I've ever known in my entire life, but I always think it's going to happen, you know?
The other
And
thing about the ones with bone conduction is there was no, at least the
oh
ones
yeah,
they
here
gave
they
us,
are.
there was no way to, yeah, it's the way it fits over, there's no
Mhm.
way to tighten it. So it was just like the back of it was just flopping up and down as I was moving at work.
Mhm.
And it drove me crazy. I'm like, I
That's
want
why
it,
you grow your hair out and then it lays on top of it and it keeps it situated.
or you could just make one that's adjustable in the back.
I mean, I guess you could, but where's the fun in that?
Like what is it, a faux hawk version of the
Oh, I hate faux hawks.
I do too, but I'm just making a
If you're gonna
joke.
grow your hair, yeah, I know. Well, what? And now I'm thinking of like legit, like a headset that like kind of splits over.
Oh goodness. All
We should be
right.
in charge of tech companies. That's where's our check? Where's our multi-million-dollar
Dude, do you know
golden
how many
parachutes?
times I've tried to like come up with something to invent or a business to start or something just to like I can never come up with anything. I'll tell you about something later that my friend came up with. It's pretty funny, but I don't know if he and I are ever going to do it. But
Mhm.
it was just really funny. But But like I've tried to come up with stuff because I was like, okay, if I could just come up with like something to invent or something to some kind of business to start and make some money, but it's not that simple.
Hmm.
Some of the things that people come up with, I'm like, why did not I not think of that? Like it's so simple yet very marketable.
Hmm.
And I'm like, these people they found a way to mass produce these at whatever it is, at a low cost. So their overhead is very little, and then they sell them for, you know, a good profit. I also enjoy watching Shark Tank. So
I don't think I've ever seen an actual episode of that.
really, oh,
Mhm.
it's good. There's some really, really stupid things on there that people come in with, and then there's some like absolute genius things. I've seen that there's some that are really, really good that they turn down. Actually, have you heard of that? It's a dating site for women that, as in like men can't log on to it. It's only for women to find men. It's supposed to be, yeah, it's supposed to be like um, a safe platitude for them, I guess. Um, but it's called Coffee Meets Bagel. Anyway,
I don't. Okay.
I only know about this because of Shark Tank, right? But apparently it's taken off, and they had already done okay with it, but they were wanting them to invest to help them really have it take off, right? Well, um, I want to say it was Mark Cuban. He said, I love this idea, but y'all have no clue what you're doing. He said, I'll give you $30 million right now for the entire company, 100% of it. I would have said, take it. I don't
Yeah.
like take it right now, deal. But they said, no, this means too much to us. Nothing means too much to me when it comes to you offer me $30 million and I don't have
Yeah.
to do anything with it. Like, are you kidding me? It would have been the easiest decision I've ever made.
One
Like,
hundred percent.
that to me was just so funny because that means if he's offering you $30 million, that means he's evaluating your company at $30 million right off
Yeah.
the bat.
Like there is no. Oh, this is where we can get to. That's we made
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. But he wanted to take it and run it himself or get people that he knew like would know how to run it properly
Yeah.
to do it because he saw it as a huge opportunity, but he didn't. And now they've apparently done really well with it. So, take that for what it is. But I just thought that was funny. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah. That's the other side of the coin, right? I mean, if you've done done the work enough to get an idea that's marketable, and you're that low, then $30 million is tip of the iceberg, right?
Yes, but $30 million right away, even after taxes, you're still coming away with a lot of money.
Hmm.
And I could spend my days doing whatever the heck I want and never have to worry about, you know, I don't know. Like to me, the business itself would mean nothing to me as long
Yeah.
as, like, okay, my idea is going forth. Someone else is running it. I have no problem with that. I'm set for life. And then I can go do ministry opportunities, but that's just me. I mean, like,
Hmm.
they're probably not believers, but like for me, I could go spend my time like doing things for the church and ministry
See,
opportunities were
you're more sanctified than I am. Like I'm taking the payday and I'm like, bye. Now I'll probably do something with it, but um,
I mean, I would probably take some of it and invest it and the rest of it I'd put away and
yeah.
then just live off of it until I found out something like I would probably just go take a job doing something that I enjoy like, get paid a very small amount to be a coach or something and
Mhm.
call it a day. Like, but I don't know. That's just me. It I wouldn't care that much. I'm just saying I wouldn't care that much about a business. I don't care if I'd put the work in. If I have the instant, like, that means you believe in the business so much. Yeah, I could probably make more money off of it. But why
Mhm.
would I go into a lifelong, like, career of like, yes, maybe, yes, not, when I have somebody willing to buy it from me and pay me more than I ever need to live on?
Yeah, I mean that's the old bird in the hand is worth two in the bush
Yeah,
math, right? I mean, $30 million up
it's
front now
guaranteed.
is guaranteed. Yeah. Uh,
I could crash and burn and then I'd have nothing.
yeah,
So, well, obviously they didn't, but I'm just saying, like,
yeah. Well, and that's where it comes back to when it comes to an entrepreneur.
hmm
Um, the value is not in the product; it's in the person behind the product, right,
right.
or the people behind the product. It's like what's his face, Dave Ramsey, when
Oh,
he
yeah.
talks about uh, students uh, coming into money and or like college grads. It's like going to college is an investment in yourself, and he says you are the secret sauce, kind of thing, and it's that kind of mindset from an entrepreneur. It's like, well, this is my idea. This is my
Yeah.
structure, my naming, my marketing, that kind of thing. Like there's my fingerprints all over this, so you can take it and do something else with it, but it's not going to be as good as what I came up with. And if I can do that, I can do something else. And so there's,
Yeah. Well,
there's,
and I guess for me, I just don't care about my name being on stuff. I just want to be successful in my own ventures. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
like, if I've gotten success and it's enough to make $30 million, who cares whose name's on it? I'll sell it in an instant.
yeah.
Doesn't matter to me. Um, Although it says here the net worth of the company is 150 million
Well, I mean,
net
they've
worth,
already,
but
yeah.
but
I
it
mean, net
also
worth. That's
it
that's assets
generates
minus
30.
liabilities.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started. I hate accounting. Um, but it generates 36 million a year. So
So what they would have been paid one time is less than what the company's raking in
yeah,
annually.
yeah,
So
I
they
get it. It's just me personally, I would have chosen to take the money.
well, and another layer of that is what uh, what is it that drives you, right? So if this is an idea that you were consulting on and you just kind of got away from it and you're like, well, this is what we got. Somebody's like, well, I'll give you a bunch of money for it. You're like, I'm not really married to it, right? This is just something just messing around here. Yeah, sure, take it, have fun. I'm going to put that money into something I really want to do. And so, but for
I
them,
guess
if
I
this,
guess it's just I don't know. I mean, I guess I just look at life differently than a lot of people. I don't care about fame and success in the same way that most people do. I care about, you know, putting my the whatever tools the Lord has given me to use to provide for myself. And then at the end of the day, if I feel like I've done that, then eh, you know, accolades from the world don't really mean anything.
see, that's why you're more sanctified than I am.
I
It's
don't know
just,
about that. You've got a happy marriage and a kid, and I'm well, we won't go down that road, but not on
I've
YouTube
got
Live.
a kid in college. There's nobody happy in college except for the fact that yes, I'm free.
No, I just mean
No, I know.
all that comes with singleness, but we won't go into that
Yeah.
on YouTube Live.
Oh yeah, we are
Um,
still recording, aren't we? We probably ought to actually get into it. How long
yeah,
have we been going now? God, being too daggum long. Yeah, over an hour. All right. Let's all right, you got your hatter?
yeah.
JB's had enough time. Sorry, JB, if you're listening to the behind the scenes or before the scenes. That's what we'll call it, before the scenes. Actually, I'm going to go update my post in the tavern because
Oh me. I took my watch off my wrist because it caught Siri. She picked up on me saying something. I'm like, shut up.
Hey Siri, tell me a joke. Why did the belt go to jail? It held up a pair of pants. Thank you, Siri.
So I used to ask Alexa a lot of jokes, but then she was like, that function is not working right now. And I'm like, what? It made me mad too because I paid for Samuel L. Jackson's voice, the
Mhm.
unedited, so he would cuss at me, and because it's funny. And then Amazon decided to discontinue all celebrity voices at one point. I'm like, then I want my $5 back. Like, I paid for this. I own this voice now. You
Yep.
just continue give me my money back. I didn't sign up for a subscription with the understanding that you're gonna, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if that's what I had signed up with, then that's fair. But I literally bought this with the understanding that I'd be able to use it for as long as I have this device. And it was funny because yeah, it was like the setting was like explicit or not. And I'm like, what's the point of having Samuel Jackson if it's not explicit? That
Yeah.
defeats the whole purpose.
At least have some bleeps.
I mean, like he's not Samuel L. Jackson if he's not using the F word.
This is true.
It was funny though while it lasted.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. What's we haven't had our production meeting. What are we talking about? What's the topic?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Well, I have the. Let me send it to you. Oh,
This is what happens when we have a production meeting right before action.
right. Did you get the text?
Let's see. I did. Oh, seriously? Gross. Is that really what we have to talk about?
We don't have to.
I mean, we can. I don't care. I I figured you'd have something to want to say about the coaches
I mean, we
getting
can
let
talk about
go.
that too, but I
Okay.
just thought this was. I've been saying for like however long we're going to talk about the game predictions, or the bowl predictions, but
Hmm.
then like the couple times that I mentioned that we didn't record those weeks, so
Oh, that's true.
yeah.
That's right.
So now that they're updated with whatever, I thought it would be,
Yeah,
unless you don't
that'd be
want to
good.
talk about it because they have Alabama outside of the playoffs,
I mean, that's part of it.
but they're just predictions, like
Yeah. So
possible matchups. So
so we're gonna talk about them as though that's what it is, and you
no,
know,
not
how,
necessarily. I just want to discuss them as if they were like how it would be.
okay. Yeah.
I mean, you can if you have other scenarios of ideas of what it could be, then you can throw those out there too. It's more of an open ended thing. I just wanted to have something to talk about. So
Yeah. We've talked about the playoff enough, so I like the idea of expanding it a little bit and talking about the rest of the New Year's Six. So that'll be good. It'll be good fun.
but that's what I mean. Like if you have like other than what this is predicting, if you have a thought of like, oh well, they might play this team, whatever, you can throw that out
Yeah.
there. I don't care. Um, so let me know when you're ready.
Um. Go.
And we are live with another episode of SEC Tavern Talk. I am your host, Rob, joined again by my co-host, Wes Mewborn. What's going on, buddy?
What's up? Roll Tide, go Blazers, in that order.
Always switching it up.
That's right.
How's it going, man?
Oh, it's going all right. It's a rough week for the Blazer faithful. All of the main Alabama teams won this week, except for my wonderful Blazers, and that loss knocked them out of bowl contention. So I'm kind of bummed about that. But
Well, hey, you're no longer down with the sickness, so
that's true. That's true. I'm not calling out sick. You know, I'm not JB. I'm not taking an extended vacation. Like I leave for a little bit and I'm back. We're back to work. We're making this happen. And the benefit of being sick all weekend was I could not get out of bed and all I could do was watch TV on Saturday. So college football, wall to wall.
yeah, unfortunately, I work Saturdays.
Oh, sucks to be you, man.
That's all right. At least Georgia played at night.
That's true. Yeah, we had some really, really good games to finish it off this past week. I was pleasantly surprised. This was probably the best Saturday of football watching for me all season. Probably since week 1, right? When everybody's excited about everything.
Well, you want to talk about the Alabama game?
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was kind of weird seeing Alabama kick off in the AM hours, but it is what it is. I'll be honest, I was a little nervous about going up against Kentucky. They've got, the number 2 rusher in the SEC with Ray Davis. They're no pushovers, and it seemed that they were pushovers Saturday. Bama played probably its best game of the season, which, I mean, coming off of the LSU game the week before, they've just looked like a monster team. Held Ray Davis, I want to say less than 100 yards. Yeah, and I'm checking it now. 26 yards rushing for Ray Davis on 12 carries. Unbelievable. Which that's been one of the hidden gems of Alabama season. Every team they've played has gotten like either their worst or second worst rushing output of the season. The Alabama's rushing defense is scary good, very, very stingy, which coupled with Milroe lighting it up through the air, not just with the deep ball, but had some really good middle passes, middle distance passes. He is really coming on as a passer. So I think, Bama 49-21, by the way, let's go ahead and call that out. That's a great final score. I don't care who you're playing. Unless it's Chattanooga, then you don't really want them to score 21. But we'll get to that later on in the show. There were a couple turnovers, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but penalties on the road, only 6 for 64 yards. That's kind of middle of the road, which I'll take given some of the penalty issues that Bama's had. So it's one of the wins that Bama fans have become accustomed to over the years, where the final score looks fantastic and there's just enough if you start looking down for Saban to get some coaching material for the rest of the week and room for improvement. So I think all in all, great showing, fabulous day for Milroe. I'm not on the Milroe for Heisman hype train just yet, but he did not hurt his potential case. I'll say that. And roll Tide.
All right. All right.
Did I miss
Yeah.
anything?
I don't think so. I didn't realize that Kentucky scored that last touchdown. Like, they must have scored it late in the game.
Yeah, it was in
I
the
remember
fourth
them having
quarter.
14. So,
Yeah, and that was Ray Davis actually. So he did get a touchdown from a yard out. So there's that.
yeah. Well, I mean, you shut them down for the most part. That's not easy to do, but then again, I mean, I think teams are starting to figure out that with Kentucky, they're not going to beat you in the air. So if you just
Mhm.
load up and stop the run, they're. I thought Kentucky, and obviously you did too, because the way you picked them, but to finish. But I definitely thought that Devin Leary was going to be much better than he is this year.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just him not being as talented as expected, or if that's just another other factors playing in. I mean, Kentucky does not. Kentucky clearly has a good offensive line. Um, they blocked for Ray Davis all year, but I think their pass blocking is not the
Mhm.
greatest. So Larry does not have the most time, but also I don't know. I don't know if in the past Kentucky's had standout wide receivers. I don't know of any that they have this year. So that might factor into it. I don't think there's any one particular thing. Um, I think it's multiple factors probably, but
Yeah.
yeah, they're just not. I don't know. They're not quite what I expect them to be. Um, although we also have history of them like after the midway point kind of tearing off a little bit too.
Mhm.
Um,
That's fair.
so, but yeah, I mean, Alabama looks good. Um, you know, Saban and Kirby do something better than anyone in the country besides just recruiting. That's obvious. Um, but they take guys that people look at the beginning and think, oh, they're not going to be this or that, and
Mhm.
they mold them into what they need them to be.
Yeah.
This is the final time I've learned my lesson. I will not question Kirby on another quarterback ever again. If he says this is the guy, that's the guy. I said that on Stetson Bennett. He won 2 national
Yep.
championships. I said that at Carson Beck at the beginning of the year because of the way he started. Carson
He's been
Beck is
really good
really
too.
coming into form. Some have him like in the top 5 in the Heisman race. Now, I wouldn't go that far myself, but I'm just saying he's getting attention now because he has really come into form. And I think at the beginning of the year, a lot of it was nerves for Carson. I think he
Mhm.
was just nervous. He hadn't started, and so he's been waiting in the wings. He's been excited. He had to get all the nerves out. He had to build up his confidence, and I think he's starting to do that. I think he's playing a lot more relaxed. I think he's just. Does that mean he doesn't ever do anything stupid? Of course not. Everybody does, but
Right.
um, he's making minimal mistakes. Um, he threw an interception against Ole Miss, but really wasn't his fault. It went off
Mhm.
our receiver's hands, and then the guy dove and caught it on the ground. Like that just happens. I don't
We
think it
know.
was a bad throw. It was just, or a bad even look. It was just he didn't catch it, and it was left up. You know,
Yeah. It's
so
interesting you bring up Carson Beck too. For one, it's a good segue over to your game, but he is number 9 in nationally in yards per game passing, but he's barely in the top 30 for attempts per game. I
mhm.
think that's a really interesting stat that he's that high in his overall production, but he's that low in the number of passes. This isn't an air raid offense. This isn't,
Well,
West
and
Coast just lobbing it up to a
the
bunch
thing
of
that
receivers.
really like it's funny to me because everyone has knocked on Georgia all year. Not necessarily Bama fans because there's a mutual respect between Georgia and Alabama, but like
Yep.
the same people that want to knock on Alabama for not being the greatest Alabama team that's ever, you know, taken the field. It's the same people that are knocking on Georgia
Right.
because they won the last 2 national championships. It's like, just shut up. Like, They want what if you look at it statistically in 4 of the major categories, 2 on offense and 2 on defense, Georgia's in the top 10 all 4 of those categories. I believe I can't remember if I think it's one is like yards per play or something like that, and then one's like um I don't remember, it's points per game, maybe. I don't remember. And then defense, um, points allowed per game, I believe. And then there's one other metric. But they're top 10 in all 4 in 4 different categories.
Yeah.
Mm,
That's impressive.
I don't know that there's any other team that can say that. If so, maybe 1 or 2 others. So when you really look at it, like they're playing really well just because they're not beating every team by 40 points every game. That doesn't mean that they're not what they should be, And
Yeah.
so, but I come back to the same thing I was saying, like Georgia and Alabama, regardless of how they start, they have the best 2 coaches in the country.
Yep.
They're going to get the thing is Georgia and Alabama have the talent and they have the depth. And so when you take, like Georgia has had a lot of injuries this year, they're starting to get guys back. They've had freshmen coming out there playing a lot of minutes. And like we had um, one of our best players, Dumas Johnson, sideline this week against Ole Miss. We had a freshman linebacker, true freshman, coming in there playing with him. He stepped up. He did what he needed to do. I mean, yeah, he had a couple miscues, but like overall, he played really well, and that's what you know. Eventually, that talent is being molded and developed into what you need it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so, overall, they did both played really well, and that SEC championship's looking really really good right now. So
Yeah, I did a quick glance. Georgia's in the top 10 nationally in total offense, total defense, scoring offense, and scoring defense. Those those are 4 categories you want to be in the top 10.
yeah,
And
so
yeah,
that's what I'm saying
they're
is like
scary good.
that's what I was saying is like that's people can knock on them for not being the same in a certain category as the last 2 years, but
Mm-hmm.
that's irrelevant. They don't. All they need to be is better than the teams that they're playing this year. That's all that
Yeah,
matters. So like,
that's exactly
if
right.
they keep winning, who cares?
Yeah, and I mean, if you want
And
to talk regular season stats, or at least regular season eye test, I don't know that there's a better Alabama team than the 2018 team that Tua led with, Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith and all those guys. And that's the same team that got blown out by Clemson in the national championship game. And now maybe this is just years of Saban conditioning, but it's not where you are right now. It's where you finish. It's
mm-hmm.
not what you're doing today. It's what you do tomorrow. And so, everybody who wants to talk the noise, sure, that's what helps, sports talk call-in shows get their ratings and
It's also
you know,
what fuels the team that you talk about.
yeah,
You don't. I
it's
mean,
bulletin
I
board
mean,
material.
largely Georgia and Alabama players are not looking at those things,
Yeah,
but you know that those things creep in and they hear.
100%.
So like, it definitely fuels the fire for them to play even that much harder.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, before we go too far, you talked a bunch about Georgia, but I just want to underscore this: 52-17 over a top 10 Ole Miss team. Now, granted, you could say they weren't a true top 10 team. Okay, fine, whatever. But they were top 10 when they went between the hedges. And good night
Well,
they
I
got shut
mean,
down.
name me 10, like, name me teams that should be in the top 10 besides them before that game.
Yeah, you
Like,
couldn't do it because their only loss was 1 touchdown to Alabama.
right.
And if I remember correctly, that was in Tuscaloosa. Yeah.
I believe so, yeah. So they played in Tuscaloosa and at Georgia.
And
Like, you rolled the dice and you got both those on the road.
yeah. I
That's
mean,
tough.
and even now, right? They've got 2 losses, but their 2 losses are to arguably 2 of the better teams that are playing right now. I know Michigan
Yeah,
looked really good,
and the
and
thing is
Washington's looked
like
good.
the thing is, okay, first of all, you have like if Ole Miss plays Georgia earlier in the year, I don't think Georgia wins this badly.
Oh,
Georgia's
sure.
coming into form, so it's not as much that Ole Miss just sucks or anything like that. It's just that Georgia is playing that well right now.
Yeah.
But you bring up Michigan, okay? You had the emotional assistant coach after the game. Yeah,
They should be
oh,
used to their coach being suspended by now, right?
right. 2 suspensions, one bowl win. Um, but but no, like they win that game, and you look at Penn State. Okay, all this talk about Penn State. First of all, I didn't even realize this until I was listening to Late Kick today. How many times they didn't even let Drew Allard throw the ball against Michigan? It was run, run,
Oh,
run, 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 run. I'm like,
oh, trust me.
this is not working. Why do you keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over?
It's not just this week. He's been riding the bench on my fantasy team for the second half of the season because his numbers have
See,
tanked.
and I used to have him. I don't know
Yeah.
which league, but I had him in one of the leagues, and I ended up dropping him because he wasn't doing anything. But I don't think it's his fault. Like,
Mm-mm.
let's see, the whole game he had 22 attempts for 70 yards, but like 3.2 average, and then they put the backup in for one play. But it's like you rush for 164 yards, but that's all you have to show for is 15 points. Like I just I didn't watch the game, but Josh Pate was saying that like the play calling was just so dumb.
Mhm.
So like, and of course they fired their OC and quarterback coach. That needed to happen.
I'm shocked.
Like everybody wants to knock on James Franklin, but as we've seen, if you don't have good coordinators, doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
You can't. Saban has struggled without the right coordinators. Kirby so far has had the right
Pete
ones.
Golding.
Yeah. Kirby so far has had the right ones, but he's also retained them well.
Yeah.
Now you're starting to see, Dan Lanning left and Todd Monken left. Thankfully, we have an OC that just kind of came back in. He's used to being in the program. He came back in and just took the Monken offense and put his spin on it. And so far, it's
Yep.
working. And so, but eventually, like, we're probably going to lose Glenn Schumann eventually. And then we'll just be left with Muschamp, and that's fine. But when he leaves, like, we gotta fill these positions, and
Yeah.
that's not always easy to do. And so, like, the funny thing about that is like a prime example of the difference between a one of the top coaches who can still manage fairly well without coordinators versus someone who can't.
Mhm.
You have Saban and Kirby, and then you have someone like Dabo Sweeney. He loses his best coordinator. So far, he's tanked. Like
Oh yeah.
in comparison to what he was doing. Like Brent Venables leaves,
Well,
game changer.
and cracks were showing when Chad Morris left because Morris was a really, really like top flight offensive coordinator there. I mean, it was Chad Morris that, if correct me if I'm wrong, but Chad Morris that made Trevor Lawrence the quarterback he was, and left while Trevor Lawrence was still there, and you saw Clemson kind of take a dip for a little bit. I could be wrong. I could have that mixed up in my mind a little bit, but I seem to remember Clemson taking a step back a little bit when Morris left. But yeah, Morris and Venables both, once they left, Clemson's a shell of its former self.
Yeah.
And
So
I'm curious too. You mentioned the OC without calling his name, but Mike Boba, he's a Georgia guy, and he's never been a head coach anywhere else. Do you think he becomes a head coach,
he has been a
or
head coach.
where was he a head coach?
When he left the first time,
Oh, that's right. He went to Colorado State.
yeah,
That's right. Okay.
he
Well,
just
okay.
bombed out there.
Yeah. Do
But
do you think he tries again at a head coach, or does he stick around? Because he and
I've
Kirby are
thought
about the
about
same
that.
age.
See, I've thought about that a number of times because like as long as he's been a coach longer than Kirby, right?
Yeah.
So
He's
like
just a couple years older than Kirby, though.
right, but Kirby was a lot of like I don't know. He's been in the game a little bit longer and he was a coordinator longer than Kirby was.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It really just depends. I feel like if he gets put in the right position, he might be decent. But I don't know that there's some people that just never are gonna be head coach material,
Mhm.
and they're just good at being OC. And when he was OC before, he made me mad because of the way. So he put up numbers, right? But he
Mhm.
also had this way where he was very predictable and he didn't do well adjusting.
Okay. Yep.
So he got very stagnant in his play calling. So, you know, but my thing, he's doing well now, and I'll get to that. But the thing here's the thing that gets me. You have Matthew Stafford and
Mhm.
AJ freaking Green on the same daggum team, and you don't sniff a national championship.
But they beat Hawaii that one time in the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah. And remember that was also the year that they had that guy that was supposed to be like running for the Heisman, and we sacked
Mhm.
him like 12 times,
Yeah.
and he did nothing.
Colt Brennan.
Yeah, Colt Brennan, because he actually faced a defense for once in his
Yeah.
entire season.
That was back when the WAC was still around.
Yeah. So that
Good
was funny,
times.
but like, and you can blame some of that on Mark Richt, of course, but like, as much as I love Richt, he was never going to be the elite coach that Kirby is.
Right.
Now he's as a person, nobody's ever going to match him as a person in a coaching rank.
Yeah.
He was one of the most outstanding people. I met him briefly once. He was extremely nice. It was for like 2 seconds, but I mean, he was just very. Um,
You can't be a bad guy when your name is Bobo. Like you can't even say that
no,
without kind of smiling.
I'm talking about Mark Richt.
Oh, Mark Rick. Oh yeah, Mark Rick, phenomenal
Yeah,
guy.
I don't know anything about Bobo, but I mean, he seems like a nice guy, but I don't know anything about him. No, but Bobo this time, he seems like he came back in under Munkin as an analyst
Mhm.
and kind of did the Kirby rehabilitation, just like
Yeah, I was about to
Saban
say
does.
that.
And I think he realized this time, okay, I'm gonna take what Munkin did, and I'm just gonna learn. I'm gonna take out of a page out of his book. I'm literally just gonna take his playbook and put my spin on it.
Mhm.
the only downside to this year that I've had with him, he's doing much better than he did before. But I mean, of course, his last couple of years as OC before he left, got fired, he was putting up like 40 something points a game.
Mhm.
But it was just it wasn't enough. But now the only knock I have on him now is he's starting to get a little better about this. But at the beginning of the year, the first few games, I could tell you every single second down, we were running the ball up the middle. It didn't matter if it was 2nd and 20 or 2nd and 1. We were running the ball up the freaking middle. And it was just a draw play every time. And I'm like, don't be predictable. You cannot be predictable. That is the worst thing you can do as an OC is be predictable.
Mhm.
Lately, he's broken out of that. He has not been as predictable, and I think that's why our offense is continuing to climb. And we've got people back. I think this is the first game of the entire year we've had Amarius Mims, Brock Bowers, and Lad McConkey all healthy in the same game. Amarius Mims, our offensive tackle, who's probably going top 10, if not top 5. Like, I doubt he's going top 5. Talent wise, he's probably there, but they're probably taking 3 quarterbacks in the top 5. So,
Right.
I mean, Brock Bowers should be in the top 5, but he may not go in the top 5 just because of the way they draft. But I mean, Brock Bowers is probably the best player in the country, and I'm saying that as someone who's biased. But I mean, like, the dude, who else can come back from a tightrope surgery in 26 days?
Yeah.
Like he came back, didn't even look like he was even injured in the first place. That's insane. The work he put in.
Well, I forgot who it was. Was it Waddle that did that at Alabama, or Devontae Smith the year
I don't
before he
know.
won the Heisman? We
Was it?
we had one
tightrope?
guy, tightrope surgery, and then came back in the same season. It was, I mean, just
Well, yeah, but
ridiculous.
same season, one thing. But I'm talking about less than a month.
Yeah, and I mean
That's what's
but
crazy.
that's my closest frame of reference.
Yeah.
And this guy's doing it, in a month. That's just unreal. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I have not seen anyone that, because like he is the size of a tight end, but he runs like a wide receiver,
Mhm.
and it's just crazy. He's gonna kill it in the NFL.
Tell me if I'm off base on this, but I was watching him during the Ole Miss game, and he reminded me a lot of Gronkowski. Like the way he just being just a physical specimen, like one of the blocks where he just takes the dude and just chunks him, like that kind of thing is like that.
I mean, I think he has potential to be another
younger,
Gronk.
probably smaller, a little bit,
not as tall.
Yeah, but similar in impact on the game for sure.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, that's what we're looking at right now. So I'm very much pleased with how things are going. We'll talk about the games going ahead, but I think we're in really good shape. So
yeah. Good deal.
And then South Carolina destroys Vanderbilt. That's funny.
Yeah, we all knew that was coming. Not 47-6, but good grief.
Auburn just absolutely kills Arkansas in Fayetteville. LSU beats Florida 52-35.
Hold up, let's take a step back, because we're going to talk about some coaching changes here in a minute. But did you hear what Sam Pittman? Did you see the clip of him responding to concerns about his job? He said, because it's never been about the wins, it's about the players, which, I mean, in one sense, he's not wrong, because it's not just the wins, but it's not the wins.
Yeah. That's
I
a good
mean,
way to get yourself canned.
just the listening to him, it's like I want to like this guy so much, but wow.
At least it's not as bad as Dan Mullen. We'll handle recruiting during recruiting season. Still one of the
Bruh,
dumbest things I've heard a
yeah,
coach say.
you're in the SEC. You're in Division I football. It is always recruiting season. Even the blackout period, it is
Uh,
recruiting season. Oh, so
yeah,
stupid. But it's that kind of okay. Sorry, didn't want to digress too much
no,
further,
it's
but
okay.
I would not be surprised if, uh, honestly, after that kind of comment, I wouldn't be surprised if he winds up being replaced after
Yeah,
this year.
I wouldn't either. But yeah, OSU beats Florida. That game was actually close for a good portion of it.
That was such a fun game to watch.
Really.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit before we started recording, and if there's anybody in our fantasy team that's our fantasy league that's listening in, there was like a 4 or 5 way conversation because uh, there me and another guy were competing to see who was going to get into the last spot of the playoffs, and if he won, he was in, and if he lost, I was in, and he had one of LSU's receivers, and the guy he was playing, the commish, had Graham Mertz, and they just go back and forth, and it wound up being a difference of just a couple of points. It was insane,
Oh man.
but it's like I look at the final score 52-35, and that's one of the reasons I enjoy playing fantasy football is even in a game that gets gets run away in the fourth quarter can still be tense to watch because you're looking at who's going to score what and what scenarios have to play out. What points do I need? What points do I not want him to get? Like that's just one of the fun bits of fantasy in there. But we kind of knew LSU was going to win that one, right? We both
Yeah.
called it.
Yeah. Then we have A&M just obliterating Mississippi State. Um, and then my favorite thing, other than Georgia winning this week, that happened, Tennessee got actually absolutely beat down by Missouri. I loved every second of that game. That was just great.
100% loved it.
The only part about that was not great was I failed to start Schrader.
Dummy.
I'm still mad about it because I would have won and been in the playoffs. But alas, it happened the way it did. um,
Indeed.
but yeah. So anyway, moving on.
A&M Mississippi State. When's the last time you saw a coach lead his team to a 41-point victory and then get fired?
Yeah, they had already had that decided.
I know, but the timing was just great. With everything else that's happened to Texas A&M, with all of the other drama, the recruiting number one spot, all the expectations, the blank plaque of national championships that he was presented with during his introductory press conference, like all of it to end after a 41-point win at home. You score 51 points.
Hey, both teams fired their coach.
Yeah.
Winning and losing team.
But the winning team did it first.
Yeah.
It's just you couldn't write a better script to this. And you know what? Jimbo cares not for any of the jokes or any of the carrying on that we or anybody else on the internet has, because this dude is getting paid. What's it, like some $76 million guaranteed in this buyout? Like it's more than triple the next highest SEC buyout in like history, which I think was Gus Malzahn, if I remember that correctly. Like it's
Probably.
more than triple his buyout when he left.
Did you see what Kirby's is? I mean, not that he'll need it. They'll need to worry about that, but his is like 96.
Oh yeah, but I mean,
but what's crazy is Saban's is like 34.
Really? I didn't realize it was that low.
That's what got me. I'm like, what? how is you got Jimbo here, you got Saban, I mean Kirby up here, and then you got Saban way down here. I
Yeah,
looked
well,
at it.
I mean, he's in the twilight of his career, right? You got to be able to move on. No, it. That's one of the things when it comes to these buyouts is, I mean, let's be honest, even $33 million, right? I mean, Alabama would lose more than $33 million in other sources of funding and revenue from the reputational damage of firing the greatest coach in college football history. They're not going to have to pay that. But even if they did, like $33 million to get fired, like sign me up. Like
Oh
what
yeah.
do I have to do? That's the running joke, right? I want to be a fired SEC coach when I grow up. Like give me that buyout. Let me walk into my boss's office and hear, well, you're doing good, right? You just got a 41-point win, on the stat sheet or whatever, but we're gonna have to let you go. Here's a golden parachute. Push me off the building.
Yeah, I don't know. Um,
And poor Arnett. I mean, he's a
oh,
great
I knew
guy.
that was happening.
We could see this coming since preseason, right? I mean, it's just I hate it that he couldn't make it through the whole season.
I
Would
knew
have
it was
liked
going
him
to
to be
be he was going to be a 1 year wonder. It was
yeah,
just he was basically a paid interim,
yeah. That's that's really what it was. And I mean,
and
props
they
to him
paid
for
him.
stepping up.
They paid him a somewhat multi-year deal to, I'm sure, to kind of like make it seem like he might be, but I think they had full intentions of no, or they had it in mind the whole time that he would never be there for more than a year or two, just
Oh yeah,
because,
I mean, he would have had to have a magical season.
yeah. I
At
think what
least a
they
bowl
did
game.
was, I think it was a way to, like, okay, there's not many options of guys we can go after this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just make this guy the head coach and then let him go, and we'll go find someone else that can, a bigger name hire. I
Yeah.
saw the stuff popping up. What about Dan Mullen coming back? Oh,
I mean, let's be honest. When he was at Mississippi State, he was for them fantastic. I
I
mean,
just don't see him replicating that.
oh, I know, but I mean, he put Mississippi State forever in the annals of history with the
Yeah.
trivia, with the answer to the trivia question. What, who was the first team ever ranked number one in the college football playoff rankings? Mississippi State, and that was
And how
it.
long did they last in that spot?
One week they came out and the
Yeah.
Mississippi State played Alabama and got shut. They
Yeah.
won't lost like 3 of the last 4 or something
Yeah.
that year, and
Oh
including
man.
to Ole Miss. Oh, but I mean, he had some good talent come through. Dak Prescott comes to mind, who's phenomenal um, quarterback, and I'm losing the name of his replacement, but the quarterback that came in after him was solid as well. I forget his name, but I mean, the reason he got hired on at Florida originally was because he did such a good job at Mississippi State and
Right.
maintained that level of success for so long. But as we've seen, at, uh, it's sort of like the reverse of what Spurrier did, right? He got the success at Florida and then basically equaled that success at South Carolina, but it was so much of a lower bar that it wasn't quite there. Well, Mullen sort of got that level of success at Mississippi State, but then went to Florida, just couldn't replicate it. Couldn't get he stayed at the same level. And but that's fine for Mississippi State. That's not fine for Florida.
Right.
His
Which makes me wonder,
biggest
you see Napier right now, and if like right now he's got a really good recruiting class, but you already see those dominoes.
Yeah.
They just had a guy transfer to Texas, or flip to Texas. I mean, and who else is to flip next? Like if they end up losing that, if that quarterback ends up flipping, they're gonna have guys flipping left and right
Yeah.
because
It's
that dude's supposed to be like, that's a top quarterback going there.
mhm.
And I don't know, like it's going to be interesting to see what Napier can do. If he keeps losing to Georgia, I don't know, but
Yeah,
we shall
it's
see what happens.
and I think we'll see more coaches fired. I mean, these weren't the first two around the country. You know, the Big Ten got it
The,
started with
the
Pat
interesting thing
Fitzgerald
to
and Mel
me,
Tucker.
the interesting thing to me was that Sam Pittman went from being an offensive line coach to a head coach. He didn't go to an OC first.
Yeah.
He was offensive line coach at Georgia. So it's interesting to me that he made that jump, and it'll be interesting to see if he gets fired. Does he take an offensive coordinator role? Does he go back to a position role? Or does he go back to Georgia or go to Alabama and be an analyst? Like, how far down does he go
Mm-hmm.
to? Because at this point, like, I just don't see him surviving. Like, this is the worst year he's had, and it's been just awful.
You know, it's funny you say that, but there was one name that came to mind. It wasn't an offensive line coach, but there was a D line coach that went from D line to head coach, and later at another stop won a national championship. Coach O.
Oh,
He was the D line coach at USC
yeah.
when he got hired on at Ole Miss.
I don't think he was ever really that good of a coach, though. He caught lightning in a
No.
barrel with that. He won because of Joe Brady. Let's be
And
honest.
he did it 3 times. He got promoted from defensive line coach to Ole Miss as head coach. When he came back to USC as D line coach, and Kiffin got fired on the tarmac, he picked it up. Either Kiffin or Sark, I forget who got fired, but he finished the season, and then went to LSU as a D line coach and uh, became interim coach when Miles got fired and took over. So but that's
Yeah,
to your point
but
though. It's so rare,
his
generally
success
speaking.
as as head coach, winning the national championship was purely because of Joe Brady.
Yeah.
Joe Brady was the one who orchestrated all of that. But
Oh, no doubt. I just think it's funny
yeah,
that Sam Pittman going from O line to head
mm,
coach. It's not unlike when Ogeron went his first time
yeah,
from line coach to head coach, because when he went to Ole Miss, oof, that was rough. That was not Ole Miss's best years.
um, but yeah, what do you think about old Jimbo?
I mean, I think it's been a long time coming. I don't know how A&M found the money to fire him. I don't know how they're going to find a replacement for him. What's coming to mind is I think it was around the time that either Malzahn or Harsin was fired. There was a meme that came around that showed like Auburn still had once Freeze was hired. It's like Auburn had 4 head coaches on the payroll still because the buyouts strung back or something like that. I'm having this image
Okay,
for
so
Texas
did
A&M.
you hear what Stephen A. Smith said?
Oh, probably Prime.
Yeah, because he said he's like, I've been hearing stuff about Prime. He's like, absolutely, he should go there. He's like, I've been saying that he needs to go to. I'm like,
No,
he's like
I,
Prime in the SEC. That's what I'm talking about.
I don't disagree with that in principle. With Prime in the SEC in principle, let me clarify. But I think personally that A&M job is toxic because it's sort of like what Tennessee was after Fulmer left.
Tom said the same thing about Auburn though, where he
Did
took
he
the
really?
Colorado job. Yeah, but
Yeah.
he didn't say
Oh,
toxic. But the context was there for the understanding of it. Like he basically said, "Why would I want to go someplace that's in a situation like that?"
yeah.
He said something along that effect. But basically, he was saying like, "I'm doomed to fail if I go to Auburn."
Right. And I mean,
Which I mean, Freeze is doing pretty well, but I'm just saying um that's what that's what he was thinking. You know.
yeah, I think it would be better for A&M if Prime came to coach there than it would be for Prime
Yeah.
at this point. I think A&M just needs to they need to hire their Derek Dooley and just put go for a little bit, bring the expectation level down, right? I mean, you hire a Muschamp, right? So somebody who will do okay, will have the weird memeable hair flick, when he shakes his head, the hair moves but doesn't move, right? Something like that, where you just kind of bring those expectations down a little bit and you realize this is where you are. Because A&M has not legitimately competed for a national championship since the Nazis were defeated in Germany. Can
Oh
can we
goodness.
be honest? Right? I mean, it was what, 40, 41, 30, late 30s? I don't know. Like the Third Reich has been around more recently than an A&M national championship team.
Did you said 40-41?
No, I was 40 or 41 or was
Oh,
it late 30s?
I was like 40-41 hasn't happened yet.
No. Like
Yeah,
1940,
yeah, yeah,
1941. But like
yeah. Third
A&M
right.
is just, yeah.
Oh goodness.
I
Nice.
love how you lean back to laugh and you just disappear for a second. For those who aren't able to see, the virtual background effect is nice. But I mean, A&M just needs to get their head out of the clouds. Someone was great. I mean, look at Nebraska, right? They were a legitimately great program. You could argue when they got rid of Bo Pelini that they were a better program than this. They had competed for a national title within the lifespan of the current crop of athletes they were recruiting. Like there was a legitimate shot that kids grew up hearing about Tommy Frazier, watched them compete in BCS national championship game. I think they lost to Miami in 01, 2000, something like that. Like there's a legitimate shot that those athletes at least saw it, so had some kind of understanding that this was a program to get there. Texas A&M's claim to fame is a top 5 finish in a COVID shortened season and Johnny football. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's nothing to hang your hat on. That's nothing to pay a coach $70+ million to not coach. Get real. Like, take a breath, save you some money, get you a decent coach at a mid-major level to step in, and where it's just as good where it's a better step up for him than it is for you to get him. Right? You just got to take your lumps, because otherwise you're going to overpay and you're going to be in the same position over and over and over again. And
Yeah.
I don't want to
That's
see it.
Tennessee.
I really don't. I'm fine with Tennessee doing it. I really would like for Texas A&M not to have to go through it.
We're all fine with Tennessee doing it.
That's right.
Oh man. All right. Well, let's shortly discuss these New Year's Six predictions by Brad Crawford of 27 Sports, 24/7 Sports. Um, he's got Michigan and Florida State in the Rose Bowl.
Well, like we've talked about before with the top four, I'm not going to rehash that. I'm just going to go with the matchups as we see it. I think that is an intriguing matchup.
I do
Um,
too.
honestly, Florida State has really come on. I mean, they started off with a big win against LSU to start the season in much more convincing fashion than it was last year. They have developed as a program over the course of the season. They've only got better, and that season opening win looks better as LSU has progressed through the season, even though they've lost two other games since then. And Michigan is, I mean, as much as I don't like khaki pants, but they were ground and pound all day long against Penn State. I mean, I think I saw some ridiculous stat. What was it, like 60 rushing plays or something like that? I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to look it up to fact check it because that was just insane to think about. But I
Yeah,
mean,
because I mean, they didn't throw much at all. I think they had like it was like 8 pass attempts or something.
no, it was 46 pass attempts. Okay, I mean 46 rushing attempts, but yeah, they only attempted 8 passes
Yeah.
all day long. I mean, that is insane. So probably it was 70% or set upwards of 70% of the cost, not 70 plays. But even still, I mean, when you are rushing the ball 46 times at almost 5 yards a carry through an entire football game, it's a wonder they only had the ball for 33 minutes. I mean, that will tire out a bunch of teams. And so to get those two teams playing together, and out in the Rose Bowl, historic spot for a Big Ten team to play. I think that'd be fantastic. It's always going to be weird not seeing the Pac-12 in the Rose Bowl, but it's never going to be weird not seeing or seeing the Pac-12 miss the playoffs when that happens. But I would enjoy it. I don't think it's going to have a Heisman Trophy winner in it for sure, but it's probably going to have a Heisman finalist in Blake Corum, the Michigan running back.
Yeah. All right. I want to talk about all these, but Georgia, Oregon.
Georgia,
I like
Oregon.
that.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Rematch
And
from beginning of season last year, and like just looking at. Oh man, that just sounds like such a good matchup. That Dan Lanning again now with a team he's really put together against the way Georgia's playing right now. I mean, I just see that being a really good matchup.
I I see it being a really good matchup on paper. I see it being about as close as Georgia TCU was last year. I mean, let's be honest. As good as Bo Nix has been, he has never been good against Georgia.
True.
And I would say there's not a better overall defensive mind in the game that can match what Saban's done over the course of his career, except for Kirby Smart. I mean, and Kirby Smart was the brains of Saban's operation. For
Dan
so long.
Lanning was a dang good defense coordinator for Georgia.
I know, but as far as minimizing Bo Nix's impact, and I think if you take Oregon and you neutralize Bo Nix, you've cut him off.
Yeah.
And Georgia has too many offensive weapons. Dan Lanning is a fine defensive coach. Don't get me wrong. There's a reason why Oregon is as good as they are, but look at what Washington did to them. I think Georgia's a much better team than Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just saying it's probably not going to be that far apart. It's not going to be what the 45, 49
Yeah.
to 3 it was last year. But I don't think it would be close. I think it's a great matchup on paper, and I would certainly tune in, but I can see myself getting bored in the second half.
And then the last one before we make picks, Alabama, Washington. I like this one.
Do you?
Do you not?
I mean, I don't, because in one respect, like, we've played Washington fairly recently. It was first round, I think, of the 2016 playoffs.
Yeah, but Michael Penix. I mean, like
Now
Washington
Michael Penix is
this
good,
year,
is really good.
Washington this year versus 2016, it's a completely different team.
Yeah, and when Penix wins the Heisman, I would like it even more because of the general way that Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks have tended to lose their postseason games. But
I
that
just think
said,
it would be a good matchup.
I think so. Saban's kryptonite has always been the mobile quarterbacks, and Penix is, I mean, top tier mobile quarterback right now. I mean, he is phenomenal. I remember watching him almost single handedly bring down Ohio State in 2020 when he was at Indiana, and they kept that game closer than it had any business being in the second half before Ohio State finally pulled away. But my word, that guy is phenomenal. And that's why I think he's going to run away with the Heisman. And to see him go toe to toe with a Saban defense, yeah, I think it's got a lot of. I think that game would be a better game to watch than Georgia Oregon.
I can see where
And
you're
as an
coming on that.
Alabama fan, winning that game is just going to start the chorus. Assuming Bama misses the playoff, that is going to start the chorus of people screaming, "We got left out of the playoff." Like, shut up. In this setting, beat Georgia and you would have been in. So we got no argument. But
Yeah,
that said, what where would this game be? That would be Fiesta Bowl,
yeah. I mean,
presumably because Washington would be the higher ranked team, and so that I forget exactly how they're picked. I'd rather it be in the Peach Bowl because I could go to that game, and I would still go to that game.
yeah. The Peach Bowl right now is Penn State and Tulane, which I mean, his prediction, which makes no sense. Why the
Well, I
Peach
think it
Bowl would
does.
be?
I think the Peach Bowl is last in the pecking order, which is why they have the Group of 5 team. And
I mean,
two,
they rotate. What?
yeah, they
division.
rotate, but this year it falls to the Peach Bowl.
Okay.
I think last year it was the Fiesta Bowl that Tulane beat USC in.
Okay.
Or maybe it was the Rose Bowl because the Rose Bowl wasn't in the playoff last
Yeah,
year.
I don't know.
But yeah, it's
It was.
that kind
I
of
think
thing.
last year it was peach and cotton. I want to say,
Yeah, something like
but
that. But Tulane went last year. They're trending on really good. They've got one loss, and that was to Ole Miss.
yeah,
Early in the season, which was
close
a closer, close loss. I think it was season opening loss too. So I mean, they've been on a tear.
Yeah,
And they're I think close to, if not in the top 20 by now. So a couple of weeks from now, if they go through and they win the American, then they've got a good shot to be in the top 15,
yeah.
sniffing the top 12, and prime position to be picked for the last playoff spot. I don't like it, but at the same time, they beat USC last year. I don't see how you can take a team like that with that level of success and leave them out this year. And going up against a bruised Penn State, I can see him pulling the upset off too. I really can, especially if Penn State takes all the talent with Drew Allar and it's just like, hand the ball off. And no, we're not going to throw. We're just going to hand the ball off.
Well, let's make some picks.
All right, let's do it.
Is your hat or SEC or non?
My Hatter's in the SEC, my man.
Mine is not. So I will go ahead.
Okay.
Give me the game day game. Give me App State over James Madison to give them their first loss of the
Oh,
year.
snap. I love it.
I'm freaking annoyed they're going to James freaking Madison for game day because no one cares except for James Madison fans. So,
Well, I'm going to push back a little bit because as an undefeated team, first year in the FBS, I think it's a fantastic story, and the fact that they're
yeah, and they started off with a whopping wonderful win against Bucknell. Then they beat Virginia, which is an actual team but not very good.
right.
Beat Troy, so one of your Alabama teams. Utah State, which this year is nothing to speak about.
Mm-hmm.
South Alabama, another one of your Bama teams.
Yep.
Georgia Southern. We are Marshall.
We are Marshall.
Old Dominion, which is only counts in basketball. And Georgia State. And then they beat UConn, which almost beat them as bad as not quite as bad as Tennessee, but
Mm-hmm.
and now they have Appalachian State. So,
Well, now the reason I say that is I'm particularly interested because since this is their first year at this level, they're prohibited from the postseason. They can't even go to an also ran bowl. So I like the pick of game day
Piggly Wiggly
going to
Bowl.
this. Yeah, they can't even go to. They can go to Piggly Wiggly, but they can't go to the Piggly Wiggly Bowl. But
For those listening, that was for Calvin.
Yep. We love you, Calvin. But when you're undefeated, your first year in major college football, for one, I think it's a dumb rule that they are ineligible for the postseason. I mean, can you imagine? I know that they're your Hatter pick. They go undefeated, 13-0. They win the Sun Belt, and they can't go to any of the bowl games with Sun Belt ties. I mean, heaven forbid they get ranked, right, and wind up challenging Tulane for, positioning for a New Year's Six game. Do they deserve it? Absolutely not. But the fact that they could be, that, an undefeated team, 13-0, you win a conference, you can't go to a bowl game. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of game day being there. I also, from a general fan perspective, I love the pick of beating them because that takes the shine off of it and it makes it so that at the end of the season, it's not as big of a deal. If you've got a loss or two in the Sun Belt and you can't go to a bowl game, okay, we don't care as much.
All right. Well, this next one, quick pick. Kansas State at Kansas.
Oh gosh. You know what? Give me Kansas. I've been impressed with them. I know they lost at Texas Tech this past week, but what's his face? Their coach. I'm drawing a blank. Lance Leopold.
Yeah.
He's been on the short list for some potential coaching vacancies, including one at Texas A&M, and he's done a remarkable job in general. And what he's done at Kansas, I think, is pretty phenomenal. And as much as high as I was on Kansas State early in the season, they've just kind of dropped off. They're still good, but give me Kansas to go ahead and win this rivalry game.
I'm going to take Kansas State, but not by the points. It's an eight point spread. It's funny that Kansas State is 9 positions, 9 ranks lower. It is favored by 8. Okay.
Yep.
Whatever. All right. And then
rankings don't matter.
Washington at Oregon State. Who you got in that one? Oregon State's favored by 1.5.
Washington at Oregon State. At Oregon State. What time is it? What time is it?
7:30.
7:30. Give me Oregon State to pull the upset. I like the night games in Corvallis. Oregon State's got a sneaky good. They're favored.
Oregon State minus 1.5. Yeah.
Oh, minus. Okay. I misheard that. Yeah, give me Oregon State to win it, and a point. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll take that.
same
But
here.
Corvallis is a great nighttime big win atmosphere. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Give me that as well. Give Washington their first loss of the season.
I'm game.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, let's see. I know what your Hatter isn't because
You
you would
sure?
never. Yes, you would never. Um,
Well, you heard it in my voice. I'm not happy about it.
no, okay. Because you've never picked them even when they. Anyway, all right. Give me your Hatter.
You don't want to just pick the SEC teams and I go with it.
We can do that. Okay. There's no line. Does Alabama win by 40?
Yeah, I think
I do too.
Bama's playing well enough where the starters take a rest probably before halftime, and
As much as I
Buckner.
love uh UTC, yeah, no, it's gonna be ugly.
Yeah,
So, um, Ole Miss favored by 37 over UL Monroe. Yes, they cover.
yeah, agreed.
Ab, oh shoot, he's sending his picks. Okay, let's see.
He says Bama covers and Ole
His
Miss
hatter's
covers
the
this
same
one.
as mine.
Is it
See that?
really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Um. Okay, so he has. There's he. Let's see, Alabama and Ole Miss. I don't even know if he put anything for. He said Bama covers with no
Yeah.
spread, but Ole Miss covers. Okay, State covers. So he's got Mississippi State over Southern Miss. Do you think Mississippi State covers the 14 points?
I don't. This is my hatter.
I told you.
Yeah.
I told
I
you
figured.
what.
I was trying to throw it off a little bit, but yeah, I think
I knew this was going to be it. I started to pick this one.
yeah, with the turmoil
Loss.
in Starkville, I think you've got a Southern Miss team that's coming off back to back wins for the first time in I don't know how long.
To get them 3
And
wins.
yeah, so
Yeah, no, I almost picked that as my hatter, but I just wanted to go. It can go one or two ways for Mississippi State. They can either get hype without like play for their coach, or they could just
yep,
completely drop off. And
I
so,
think it's going to be the latter.
yeah, and I thought that too, but I just didn't know Southern Miss had it in them. Plus, I really just wanted to make that upset pick and give James Madison their first loss. But
Yep, that's fair.
A&M no spread. Who cares? It's Abilene Christian. It's going to be absolutely ugly. Um, he said, he said A&M doesn't cover. There's not even. That's funny.
They're going to pull the old Michigan coaching strategy out. They're going to go out without their head coach.
Oh man, uh, too soon.
Yep.
No, New Mexico State at Auburn. Auburn's favored by 23.5. Yes, they cover.
Yeah, I think Auburn, after the way they played at Arkansas, they can be scary good, and they're not going to be looking ahead at Bama. They're going to be focused. They're going to get it done.
He didn't even make a pick for that.
Yeah, he did. No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. Oh well. We'll say they covered.
Maybe he's still sore over the butt whooping the Tigers gave the Razorbacks. That one's for you,
Oh,
JB. We love you.
the Auburn Eagles.
Teagle,
FIU at
Teagle.
Arkansas. Does Arkansas cover? JB says they do. I'll say they do against Florida International.
I'm going to say they win, but they don't cover. It's just something about it doesn't feel right to me anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's the post-game press conference with Pittman. Maybe it's the fact that they're 3-7 and we expected them to at least go to a bowl game. I don't know, but something doesn't feel right. It's sort of like with the Mississippi State. It's like it could go either way,
Yeah, that's
but
fair.
I think at this point, it's almost like the players have given up.
Georgia State in Death Valley at 8 p.m. Oh goodness. 31-point spread. Yes, they cover it.
I'm
Like,
surprised this has a spread, to be honest with you.
he said LSU doesn't cover.
Yeah.
What?
Well,
JV.
Georgia State is they have I think the number 10 uh passer nationally.
Yeah, but come
And
on.
this is listen, I'm just who knows what JB is thinking,
I
right?
know.
I'm trying to comprehend the
All right,
incomprehensible.
and then let's do Florida and Missouri at Missouri. In Como at 7:30. Missouri minus 11.5. Give me Missouri to win and cover. This is an easy pick for me. Riding that Tennessee butt whooping, they're going to follow it up with a Florida butt whooping.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like part of me was thinking if this was an 11 o'clock kickoff,
Mm-hmm.
I would be thinking maybe this would be a good Hatter pick. But at night in Como, no,
It's
no,
going to be cold, man.
it's gonna be
Those boys from
cold. Give me
Florida ain't
Mizzou in
going
the
to know what
points.
shit going to hit them.
That's right. Yeah, Mizzou in
Uh,
the points. It's not going to be close.
yeah. And then we have Kentucky at South Carolina. UK minus 1.5 on the road.
That is a very, very odd line.
I agree. I will take Kentucky and the points.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not surprised at taking the points if you're going to take Kentucky.
yeah. And JB says the same thing, but I'm
Well,
guessing
then I get to go
Kentucky.
not so fast for once because you normally get my pick first. Not so fast. Give me Spencer Rattler. Give me the night atmosphere at Williams-Brice Stadium. Give me the Gamecocks to stay on track for a bowl game. Give me the Gamecocks to pull the upset outright.
So matchup predictor actually agrees with you. So 58 to
no.
42.
That's almost as bad as Lee Corso agreeing with me.
And then finally, we have Georgia at Tennessee, minus 10.5 for Georgia. JB says UGA covers the spread. I'm gonna let you go ahead.
Well, I'm not gonna go against JB. He's actually on the money. When he's right, he's right. I think Georgia is on a mission, and I don't think Tennessee has anything that can stop them. As a Bama fan, I'm going to be watching with the comparative score to see how this pairs up with how they did against Alabama a few weeks ago. But if it was anybody but Tennessee, I'd feel sorry for them. But because it's Tennessee, go on, Georgia. Do you think?
Yeah, I think Georgia wins and covers. Here's the thing. I do think that it might be an early distraction with that crowd in Neyland Stadium. I've been there a couple times. It's loud, but I don't think it's anywhere near enough.
Mm-mm.
Like Tennessee has not gotten any better since the Alabama game, and Georgia has gotten significantly better. And Tennessee, Milton, as I said from the beginning of the season, he sucks. He's not a good. He can run the ball, and they have good running backs. But here's the thing. You're not going to run up the middle on Georgia. Good luck with that. And
Mm-hmm.
then on the edge, that's where Auburn found success rushing with the running back and the quarterback. Georgia has gotten better on the edge since then. They're not about to let Milton run on them. So
Yeah.
the question is, can their backs get on the outside the edge and run? If they can, they stand a chance of not getting blown out. If they can't, the thing is if Georgia goes up by a couple touchdowns early, it's a blowout, in my opinion, because I don't think Tennessee's defense can stop Georgia's offense. We've been hearing about Tennessee's defense, and I'm like, yeah, but they went the 2 weeks that they were talking about it. Yeah, at the time, Alabama's offensive line was the pass blocking was pretty bad at the time. It was not showing up.
Mhm.
And then the team, who did they play right next to Bama? I can't remember. Whoever it
Kentucky.
was Kentucky.
Yeah, they played Kentucky right after they played Bama.
Who did they play before Bama?
Oh, before Bama was A&M.
Yeah.
Won by a
So
touchdown.
they beat A&M, but those two lines have horrible pass blocking. Or
Mhm.
Bama did. Bama's
Had.
sure it up. Yeah. A&M still does. But so those numbers were kind of inflated for Tennessee at the time because of that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And Georgia's offensive line is giving back plenty of time. So for the most part, so I don't see them putting a lot of pressure enough to make a difference. I see
Yep.
Georgia's running game. I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. We not only have Edwards, but Milton is starting to get in the phrase. He's healthy. Um, and I mean, we had over 600 yards of total offense in the last game.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
So,
Something else I want to throw in here too. There have been 3 big like circled games for Georgia this last several weeks. Kentucky, Missouri, and Ole Miss. And Kentucky was that first real challenge that they got after they've been starting slow game after game after game. And the question was, are they going to start slow and fall behind? They won 51-13. This game last week, top 10 opponent, night game, huge atmosphere, Lane Kiffin offense. Can Georgia stack up? Will they wilt under the pressure after having Missouri the week before? 52-17. Right? Those two. Now, granted, with Missouri, they did start off a little slow. Fell into a deficit in the first quarter, tied at the half, pulled away in the second half. I think there's precedent for early struggles, but like we've seen with Tennessee, especially against Alabama, they did not make good second half adjustments. And with Georgia's defense, even if they start slow, I think they pull away late. But I don't think they start slow. I think we saw Georgia hit a gear against Ole Miss that they're going to continue through Tennessee and the Ramblin' Wreck, and they're going to run out of gas when they get to Atlanta. That's all I'm saying. But we'll get to that one when we get to that. But I think, but in all seriousness, the big circle games, the Kentucky game, huge win. The Ole Miss game this past week, huge win. This game, is a revenge game for Tennessee after last season. I think Georgia is having none of it. I think it's going to be another huge win, start to finish. I really do.
I think it definitely has the potential to be. So,
Yep.
Well, got anything else?
No, I think it's good. I just wish Tennessee was playing at Georgia so I didn't have to look at that throw up orange.
Yeah, don't we all? Hmm.
But no, it's good, man. I'm glad we're back to back and missing a couple weeks. That was rough.
Mhm. It
Glad
was.
we're back at it.
Yep. All right. Well, until next time, just remember, brothers, to let your light shine before men so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. And we'll see you in the tavern.
Oh yeah, I forgot to do that. Let me. I got to remember to trim the ending off this time.
Are we still live?
Yeah, yes, we are.
I
All
almost
right.
botched that ending, but
You did.